Over the past 2 years, the Middle East has seen a dramatic realignment. The 2020 Abraham Accords saw the UAE and Bahrain establish diplomatic ties with Israel. And this year, Turkey's own reconciliation with Israel and several Arab states led to a significant lowering of regional tensions. But one issue that bonded all countries together and didn't see much change was the Palestinian cause. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan welcomed his Palestinian counterpart Mahmoud Abbas in Ankara this week, where he reiterated support for Palestinian rights.
The steps taken in our relations with Israel will never decrease our support for the Palestinian cause. On the contrary, our Palestinian brothers also state that these steps will contribute to solving the Palestinian issue and ameliorating the Palestinian people's situation.
Last week, Türkiye and Israel announced a full restoration of diplomatic ties, including the reappointment of ambassadors. But despite the warming of ties, Türkiye and regional leaders have condemned Israel's recent crackdown on Palestinians. On Tuesday, ahead of Abbas's visit, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu argued that having an open dialogue with Israel will help Ankara better defend Palestinian rights, stressing that Türkiye would not make concessions on Palestine. And to discuss it further, I am now joined by Daoud Kuttab. He is a Middle East analyst based in Amman, and Giorgio Cafiero. He is the CEO at Gulf State Analytics. He joins me from Washington, D.C. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So, Palestinian President Abbas's 3-day Turkey visit comes at a time when Israel and Turkey are taking steps to normalize their ties. Daoud, what's behind the timing of Abbas's visit now?
Well, it's not clear who set up the visit, but the genius whoever set it up, because it came in at a time when some people, not myself, but some people were questioning the return of normalization of Turkey. Everybody knows that Turkey is a member of NATO, so for me it was not a surprise, but I think the cleverness of inviting President Mahmoud Abbas, especially after the Germans made a big deal about his statements, I think was very smart, and I think it helped ease the normalization issue and the return of embassies. We all hope that what President Erdogan said, that his country's return to the embassies will increase the ability to pressure and to put pressure on Israel to respect Palestinian rights.
So, Giorgio, although President Abbas didn't directly mention it, but Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu said the Palestinian side has welcomed the normalization efforts between Turkey and Israel. So how could normalized ties benefit Palestinians, and could Ankara have more influence in mediating between them?
Well, in general, since the Abraham Accords of 2020, a big concern among some Palestinian factions has been that with more Arab Muslim countries normalizing relations with Israel, that undermines the Palestinians. Now, obviously, Turkey is not a GCC country, and we can't compare the renormalization of Turkey's relations with Israel to that of UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco. It is a bit different. Nonetheless, it was important for the Turkish leadership to emphasize its point to the Palestinian leadership that Ankara renormalizing relations with Tel Aviv was not going to lead to the Turkish leadership abandoning the Palestinian cause. And the message here is that Turkey can help mediate between the Israelis and the Palestinians. That was the important message that Erdogan had for Abbas this month.
So, Daoud, how would this normalized ties impact the Palestinian leadership? Could you talk to us about the political situation in the country?
Well, we have a number of issues that are outstanding that need immediate help. The issue of Al-Aqsa, which is very dear to all Muslims and all Arabs, is very, very important because the Israelis and the radical Israeli right wing are trying to create facts on the ground and to break up the status quo, which actually started under Ottoman rule. So this is a big issue for Palestinians, is the issue of Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa Mosque. And already Turkey has always had a very good position on that. But I think the return of ambassadors could help in pushing and making sure that Al-Aqsa, Al-Haram Sharif remains under Arab-Palestinian control, under the Hashemite custodianship. The other issue, of course, is the issue of negotiations. Until now, under the current government, which replaced the Netanyahu government, there has been a total freeze on negotiations, while there has been an increase in Jewish settlement activities, which are illegal. So there is hope that somehow we can restart the talks, because talks give people hope. And without hope, people start to become radicalized. So if we're really interested in moderating the Palestinian position, and especially among the public, because the public is losing trust both with the own leadership and with the international community, because nothing is happening. They don't see any future. There's no horizon. The political horizon is very important for Palestinians, and that needs to be addressed very quickly.
So, Giorgio, do you think Palestinian politics are on the verge of a change, and this latest developments could hurt Abbas's leadership soon?
Well, this normalization trend is something that Palestinians are deeply concerned about. I have to imagine that many in Palestine are very disappointed, not only with their own leadership, but also with a number of regional countries and sort of the failure of their own leadership to try to convince Arab and Muslim countries in the region to not go down the path of normalization right now.
So, Daoud, how has Abbas's possible nomination of Hussein al-Sheikh resonated among Palestinian political elite and factions?
Not very well. I don't think Hussein al-Sheikh is extremely popular among Palestinians. He has the portfolio of helping, coordinating with Israel, and many see that he's doing that as a way of gaining control and power rather than helping everyone. But I think this is a temporary attempt by Mahmoud Abbas to create his own predecessor, the person who will take his place. Mm-hmm. But I think if Mahmoud Abbas is no longer in power, I think there will be an attempt to see who is the one or group of people who will be the leaders. I don't know if Hussein al-Sheikh will be the number one person or part of a quartet, maybe, or a tri-party with maybe Jibril Rajoub and Mahmoud al-Alul and himself. I don't know, but I wouldn't put if I was a betting person, I wouldn't put all my money on Hussein al-Sheikh alone.
So, Giorgio, what has Abbas done so far for the well-being of the Palestinians since he took office 14 years ago? I mean, if you took stock of his leadership, what would you like to say?
Well, I think it's most important to ask that question to a Palestinian. I, as an outsider who listens to what Palestinians often have to say about him, I think there's quite a bit of disappointment. I think there's widespread perceptions that his leadership has been incompetent, that he has failed to lead, and that the situation year after year gets worse and worse for the Palestinian people. This is certainly what I am hearing from many different Palestinians in Palestine and abroad who have many of these types of complaints.
So, Daoud, we also hear new political initiatives. What do you make of this new formation led by former PLO leader Yasser Arafat's nephew, Nasser al-Qudwa, called the National Rescue Initiative? What does it offer?
Well, ever since a year ago when Palestinian president canceled the general elections, there has been a lot of problems and things have gotten worse. And Mahmoud Abbas's own favorability ratio has gone down. So everyone is seeking a way to create an initiative that can do two things. They can help unite Gaza and the West Bank, and therefore unite Palestinians from all different sources, and to give the Palestinian national aspirations a push. Right now, we're playing defense instead of offense. We're not really being active in trying to make change. The Israelis are getting away with murder. See what happened to Shirin Abu Akleh and others. So we're not actually, our leadership is not able to make an influence on the world map. And so I think it's a good initiative. Unfortunately, I don't know that it will succeed, but it's a good initiative.
So, Georgia, do you hear any reactions from the Gaza Strip? I mean, is Gaza reacting to this? And if we come back to this normalization efforts between Turkey and Palestine, is it likely to cause more frictions between the Palestinian administrations?
It's a really good question. You know, there have been conflicting reports coming out about how Hamas has reacted to the renormalization of ties between Turkey and Israel. I think it's understandable that maybe the Hamas leadership is not exactly thrilled with this development, but at the same time, Turkey has been important to the Palestinian cause throughout the many years, especially since the AKP has been in power. And I think the leadership in Hamas would be very careful about criticizing or condemning this renormalization of relations between Turkey and Israel. There has been a history of Hamas having falling out with regional governments such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and then also Syria at the beginning of the Arab Spring. And I think Hamas is going to be careful not to do anything that could result in a serious rupture of its relationship with Turkey.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.